Greetings, God bless. I just want to share some more ideas. Like when you're a pedestrian and you're thinking about relocating, uh, I would look into do the buses and light rails obscure the windows? So, you know how there's those big advertisements and it plasters the windows so you're in basically a cattle car. And that's what I found here in Denver. And I've noticed it when I was in Iowa. And I'm not sure if it was in Virginia or South Dakota, but um, you know, people who are designing public transportation don't take public transportation. They may have taken it once that year just to virtue signal or claim that they have some experience. And those who are in charge of those people, those decision makers, are clueless because they're busy in their private jet, doing human trafficking or something like that. So, but the pedestrian is left to suffer the consequences of ignorant people making their friends money and making themselves money in a corrupt way. So, what I would like to suggest is when you're planning on moving somewhere and going to be taking public transportation, check to make sure that the buses and light rail are not like cattle cars. So, for instance, here in Denver, a majority of the buses are and the light rails. It's like a cattle car. There might as well not be any windows there because it's all covered in these advertisement sticker type of things. And people who are in charge, the trusted agents of the public good, clearly hate pedestrians, clearly hate humanity, and they completely lack empathy because when they're driving in their cars, are they going to put stickers so they can't look out the windows, so their children can't look out the windows at the sides when it's not necessarily a hazard? You know my point. Um, and so another thing I've noticed here and elsewhere as well is drivers do not use the kneeling feature, so you have to haul yourself up like a foot or more, and also, fall off the bus when you're trying to get off the bus. It's just a really hard thing to do, but because when I lived in New York and San Francisco, buses kneeled, and it was just, it wasn't like a special occasion like once a year. And I have noticed in a variety of cities where there'll be that one rare elderly person and the bus driver won't kneel the bus. The elderly person is clearly elderly, has a cane, and has to pull themselves up a foot onto the bus because that bus driver just can't be bothered pushing a button. And I've complained to different I think this was in was it? I think it was in Montana, and like the bus managers also they hate people, they hate the bus riders, and it's very interesting. Like government workers hate the very people that they are hired to serve. I don't know what that's about. Maybe the managers they're working for are very hateful, and so it's like this trickle down effect. I don't know, but it should not be so stressful getting on and off the bus. And so I would say, when you're looking at a place to relocate and they actually do have public transit, what are the times? Does the bus only run until 3 or 5 p.m.? Does it only run Monday through Fridays? Are there any quirks? Like here in Denver, a lot of homeless people live in the bus stops. And so the bus stops can be trashed and it's just spooky because you're waiting for a bus and there's a group of people, are they doing drugs in the bus stop, and you're on your own because we are in anarchy right now. Cops can't be bothered. You're not important enough for that, and unless for some reason they do care about the sidewalk, and then the trusted agents of the public good are absolute toddlers having a temper tantrum and unprofessional. So, yeah, so you want to check on the hours of the buses, Do they stop service and you have to wait? Like when I would take a bus from Denver to Aurora, uh, some buses would go all the way, and then other buses stop halfway, and then it's 40 degrees outside, and you're stranded in the middle of nowhere waiting 45 minutes for the bus that you thought you were on going the right way. So, um, also, you want to check, like for here in Denver, there's a few buses, the 6 and the 15, that are notorious for a lot of violence. And I have found violence is about ready to happen in nearly every bus line that I have taken. And because the drivers are in their little telephone booth, they can't hear when somebody's acting up, and I don't know if they even care. And, I don't think they have proper training. Like when I was growing up in New York City, if somebody was acting up on the bus, the driver would stop the bus and tell whoever to get off the bus and that they would call the police, and that eventually that person would leave or that person would be quiet because that person was trying to get somewhere. But in Denver, you are in bedlam. You are in a mental institution the moment you enter the bus, and you are at the mercy of whoever is crazy and violent that's on the bus. And Denver could care less because there's a lot of mental illness, there's a lot of drug use, because Denver loves being the den of iniquity of this area. And so, yeah, you see like the most harrowing homelessness, uh, you know, um, and mental illness and addiction. And Denver loves that. Denver loves being a drug destination. And so when you're riding the bus or walking the sidewalks, that's what you're stuck with. So yeah, if you're a pedestrian, you wanna have an idea like how bad is the homelessness, how bad is the police negligence. When I was in Rapid City, there would be a lot of homeless Native people who would corner you at the crosswalk when you're waiting for the light to change. So it was a red light, and all the traffic would go, and they'd surround you and be like, "We want money, give me money." And you're on your own. You're on your own. So you really need to do your due diligence. Do like when I was living in Portland, Oregon, the ticket machines would be broken, and then the cops would be there to give you tickets for not having a ticket. So if they have that kind of equipment, do they keep it working? That's a good thing to look at. And looking up Yelp reviews, Google reviews, even looking up complaints through the Better Business Bureau. That's a way to see how different things are running. Because when I was in Portland and taking the bus in from the suburbs, I met other people who were like, "Yeah, the bus drivers, the Portland Metro does not care about ridership." And when I was in the suburbs, drivers were so catatonic. Like I understand, it's my observation that bus drivers have a very terrible job. It's a terrible quality of life, and I'm grateful that they have made it possible for me to be able to um, get around. And uh, something I noticed in Portland is you would ring the bell to get off, and the driver didn't notice. They wouldn't look to see that the the upcoming stop was necessary. I mean, you had to be like, stop at the next stop, and then as you're coming up, please stop now. Like they are catatonic. And also when you'd be waiting at a bus stop. So in Portland or in the suburbs, there'd barely be a sign, and very few people would ride the bus because it's so neglected in the suburbs of Portland. And so you would have to flail your arms for the driver to notice you because they would drive by you. They just weren't looking for you. They're not like the bus drivers in Portland or in the surrounding area are not looking to pick up passengers. I don't understand. And again, there's something very maybe traumatizing, like really horribly unhealthy about being a bus driver that makes them just zombies. But that is something that I have found when I was in the suburbs of Portland. And when I've talked to drivers about this, they're like, "Oh yeah, you should have a light, and you should have, carry a flashlight with you, and carry a plastic bag and wave it so the drivers see you're there." And I'm like, the driver can't see a person. I mean, like, I don't know. Another thing I noticed when I was in Portland uh, itself, the downtown, is drivers would really be like bus drivers would be really impatient, and if you were not, you know, like there right on the dot, they would uh, drive off. Whereas when I've been in other places, if it takes you a second to get to the door, they will wait. But there's just something very cruel and malicious about the bus drivers in Portland area. Um, and let's see, our sidewalks. Oh, so as a pedestrian, something I've noticed is some bus drivers, or not bus drivers, some buses, like the newer models of buses, have all these crevices that the like backpack, like the straps get caught in. And I've always had a backpack since the 70s, in the 70s, 80s, 90s, no problem. And I would even say 2000s. But this new issue of buses that I've noticed maybe the past, I don't know, 5 years, um, the straps of the backpack gets caught. And I have a couple different backpacks, and this has happened a lot. And I think like people are inheriting jobs, and they're not as good as who was practicing years ago. And I would apply this also to sidewalks. So something I notice is crosswalks are not grade level, and even some sidewalks are not properly graded. So so you're walking, you know, and and you don't see that there's this hill, like so in my experience as a lifelong pedestrian, like the sidewalk is supposed to be flat, but there will be these waves. And let's say you're crossing, and I notice this a lot at zebra crossings, is they don't properly grade it. And so you're trying to get out of the way of a truck that's trying to run you over or whatever, as you're finishing up your walk across the zebra crossing when it's your light. And then you have this hill that you're not expecting, and you're trying to run, and it's just like a trip hazard. And I have noticed this a lot, where there's like trip hazards on the street where it's like the crosswalk, the zebra crossing, and whoever is doing these new um, sidewalk, or not sidewalks, street renovations or whatever, they're not making it safe for pedestrians. Because when you're a pedestrian and you're rushing, let's say it's wintertime, let's say it's in the rain, let's say somebody's trying to run you over because they're too impatient to let you walk with dignity across the crosswalk when it's your light. When you have these trip hazards, it's dangerous. And cities want to put you in the hospital. They want to blame you. They want to make it all your fault. They want you to think it's all your fault. So then it makes hospitals money, and insurance companies money, and puts you into debt, and puts you at the mercy of the city. So everything is conspiring against you. But if you can find a city that has some decency, some humanity, I would say, look for places where they allow you to look out the windows, and where the bus drivers will, let you get off the bus when you ring the bell, or pick you up when you're waiting at the bus stop. Like where people are not so, um, um, what's the word? What is going on here? So brutalized by existence, they can't even be normal basic people you know so I know I'm sounding negative, but really, if you look at the money, if you look at the statistics, if you look at the facts, And if you look at human nature, it's I'm right, unfortunately. And I'm not, saying, like, I'm not holding it against these cities or doctors or bus drivers. I understand they're all being, either they're greedy or they're demonized or they're manipulated or they're just really crummy people. And I mean, it's just there's so many who are culpable, who are responsible, and um, yeah, I'm just waiting. I'm looking forward to when Jesus returns, so I can be somewhere that's livable for a human being. But till then, I just wanted to give you guys a heads up, and yeah, if you're disabled or dealing with balance issues or whatever, or English as a second language, like, you want to be able to see out the window so you can kind of read street signs and look at landmarks. So, but this is all too much. Basic human needs and desires are irrelevant to the greedy city councils and their buddies who want to make money, and these city council people and these construction companies or insurance companies or doctors or nurses or hospital CEOs or whatever. Like, they all probably are nice people. They probably have nice kids, and they're buying these $1 million homes and doing these very expensive vacations, and they're subsidizing all these tourist businesses that are outside of that city that they have just exploited. That's the thing. And they get treated like a nice person. Like, they get treated with good customer service, when how they got their money was through being negligent to vulnerable people that needed them to be responsible. And that bothers me. Like, I feel like people like Gavin Newsom or Kristi Noem or Biden or Hunter Biden, and like all these people, even maybe Trump. Like, I do not think, like, when let's say they walk into your grocery store or your whatever hotel, and they have this cachet, they have this respect, and they don't really deserve it. Just because they did all the despicable things to get to be a governor or a president or whatever, doesn't mean that they're good people. It actually indicates they're probably very bad people. But they get, like, treated like kings, and they don't deserve it. And then people who are vulnerable and don't do bad things, and just are basically trying to survive without a complete humiliation, they get treated like crap because they don't look like a model or whatever, or a movie star. But our world is a fallen world, and this is just more proof that it is so. So thanks for watching. God bless.